Thanks everybody for listening to me. My name is Trevor Jones. I work for OTT Communications. They got a big long title that doesn't really matter. Some of you have heard me speak on how to bring broadband to municipalities before. Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about, take a step back, I guess, and talk about what broadband means to the workforce and workforce retention and development. Okay, so I think obviously there are two elements to this, right? On the one hand, municipalities are no different from a lot of other companies that are out there, commercial enterprises that are out there. As the workforce changes, we have a couple of things that we'd like to do. One element of municipalities that make them actually quite similar to our company, but very different from most, is that we tend to have long, tenures and long, kind of retention of employees, 20 years or longer. And so, what you typically would rely on is for that, seasoned, established workforce to, mentor, to inspire, to teach the younger workforce as they come up, and that's a lot of what the conversation's been about today with internships and all of that, right? But at some point, as there's so much out-migration and it's so hard to bring in those that new workforce, what do we do about that? What do we do about drawing a younger workforce and getting those folks in? Internships is certainly a great solution for that. Having a son who's currently doing an internship with a printing company in Southern Maine, I can vouch for the fact that it really kind of opened his eyes to what career opportunities might exist in Maine. Whereas before he was really thinking about working somewhere else after his degree. So that's a really important element. But the question is, what else can we do? And I think there are some important elements, like remote work. That'd be backwards. Okay. So, again, we heard Mr. Lawton talk about this morning. More workers are leaving the workforce and entering. We have a lower birth rate because we have fewer, childbearing age, residents. We have a higher retirement rate because, workers are leaving. But the other dynamic that we have is that, we do have, more people who are coming into Maine. Again, some of that discussion that we had about, people retiring here, people selling expensive homes out of state and moving to places like Portland. That is, creating, a potential workforce of people who want to semi-retire, maybe work part-time. And what we need to do with that workforce is really kind of, and also if we want to attract that younger workforce, what we have to do is we have to kind of rethink the way we provide benefits, the way we attract those workers. And so, if you please move the slide forward. So the first element is sort of this millennial, what we call the millennial workforce, right? And these folks are what we call digital natives, right? They only know the connected world. They've only lived with the internet and social networks and all of those elements. And so they want different things, in their work requirements, right? They're much more concerned with where they live than where they work. They're much more interested in always being socially connected. They don't want to necessarily leave their Facebook behind, or in their case, usually Snapchat or Instagram, right, behind when they go to work. They want flexible hours. They're more interested in sort of working whenever it suits them and not necessarily, and wherever it suits them, right? And so and technology enables that. So how do we, appeal to those folks and give, meaningful connection to them? Bring your own device is a big thing, right? Providing some mechanism for them to attach their mobile phone, their tablet, whatever it is that they use to communicate, to the network in the office, and providing that connectivity that they need to thrive. Go ahead and move to the next slide. Interestingly enough, that semi-retired workforce has similar needs for different reasons, right? Telecommuting is still important to them, particularly in conditions when the weather might be bad and they don't want to try and make a long drive to the office, in poor conditions. Flexible hours, again, a lot of them are in semi-retirement, and so they don't necessarily come to work in the same kind of schedule that they did when they were, full-time employees. They also want to stay connected, more because of children and grandchildren than necessarily, Snapchatting with their friends, right? But that's an important element for them too. And so connectivity is really, important for both sides of the workforce. Go ahead. All these are things that, both businesses and municipalities would need to consider, but the municipality answers to a higher power, and that's the taxpayer, right? So we have to be thinking about, you have to be thinking about, delivering services, being fiscally responsible, right? And delivering services to customers or to your residents when they want them, which is very often after hours, and that generally means online. Whether that that resident is streaming a town meeting rather than attending in person, or registering or buying licenses or doing all the things that they often do at town hall, online. And so facilitating that connectivity is an important element of providing service to the residents when they need those services and when they can take advantage of them. And so this really kind of contributes to the idea of digital technology and connectivity as being a springboard to to economic development and to attracting the workforce. And so workforce is obviously an important element to that, both for the municipality and for the businesses that you're trying to attract when you're doing economic development. It's important for education, giving those school-age children the connectivity that they need at home to get, to do their schoolwork and their acquire the skills they need to become productive members of the community. Obviously, we talked a little bit before about operational efficiencies. How do we use connectivity to streamline operations at the municipal level or in a business? You can, in this case, is a photo of a police woman, using a laptop to pull up records here, but that applies to any any field, right, where you can monitor road conditions or whatever might be happening, weather, and better manage things. And then citizen engagement, e-government, some of the stuff I talked about with respect to keeping people involved with streaming meetings and doing registrations and such online. So this quote, I think it highlights how important it is for us to really work to attract businesses. I think infrastructure is key to attracting businesses and jobs reduce that burden on the homeowners. And when we talk about infrastructure, I think that's the next slide. No, workforce. So, and again, the workforce is, you need the jobs to get the workforce, you need the workforce to get the jobs. It's kind of a vicious circle. So, go ahead and advance the slide. So, infrastructure is what I wanted to talk about. So, we all know, and I don't think I probably need to say much about how important electricity is, but also roads, gas, water, wastewater, sewer. Those things are very, very important. And, you know, in my industry 15 years ago, we would have talked about the telephone in this context, right? Telephone service was a big concern going back 100 years or more for towns and communities. These days it's more about connectivity. It's more about providing the connections that the businesses need to operate, that you need as a municipality to transact business and run your software applications and communicate with, you know, between different departments. It's about the connectivity that, you know, that the potential employees in the workforce needs in order to, you know, do their work from home, do their work from work, but also just to live their lives, right? Whether it's making purchases online or streaming, you know, TV, all of that's important, right? Because it's how people live and the lifestyle that they support. And so without that connectivity, it's very, very hard to attract workers and hence to attract businesses. So we talk about commerce and citizen engagement, right? Keeping people involved, keeping people, allowing them to transact business. But at the same time, you know, we want to provide quality of life, and we want to, you know, leverage that, you know, that great place that we are as a state. And so how do we bring the two together? And broadband is a great tool for doing that. And it's cyclical, right? So, you know, I think the next slide maybe speaks to that. Yeah, it's cyclical. The, you know, broadband draws in the workforce. It helps get those millennials, you know, interested in the connection that you have. It helps them telecommute. It gives them the amenities they need to live their lives. It accommodates that aging workforce, right, and their requirements to maybe not have to make the long drives, to communicate with their families. It provides you with an operational, you know, benefit, and that brings more businesses in, and those businesses, you know, reduce the tax burden, and make, you know, and provide the jobs and bring in more workers, and we go right back to the cycle, right? And so it's hard to understate the value of broadband on that, right? In terms of providing all that connectivity, all that richness of life that folks need these days. So with that, I think we'll open to questions. Yes?
You made a comment about having people bring their own devices and connect into your network. How do you manage security on that?
In our case, we have two separate partitions to the network, right? So we actually have a guest network that my personal iPad and my phone connect to, and a business network that the company tablet here and laptops and whatnot connect to. And so they're separate, but at the same time, you know, while I can't access the billing system from my personal tablet, I can check my email, right? And so there's interconnectedness. Services that are sort of by nature less secure and have less need to be secure are more open and have more flexibility. And services like, again, billing systems, payments, right, that have confidential information, we keep those on the secure network. Other question? That was a great question. Thank you.
That was a good question. All right, Trevor, thank you very much.
Thank you.